So I'll just give you a quick overview of the agenda. So first we'll look at what Oracle HCM Cloud is all about, and once we look at the overview of the HCM Cloud, we'll look at the Oracle Recruitment Cloud, the overview of ORC, and next we'll look at a quick comparison between ORC and Talio. The reason why we are comparing with Talio is also a product by Oracle. So and ORC and
I'm
Talio.
sorry, did I miss something because there was no voice before?
Uh, I'm sorry.
Did I miss something before because there was no voice? I just saw this first screen.
We just started, uh, Habib.
Thank you.
Yes. So we'll just have a quick introduction about the ORC, and then we'll have a quick comparison between ORC and Talio. The reason why we are comparing with Talio is because Talio is also a product from Oracle, and ORC is the new version which Oracle has released in 2018. And then we'll look at the overview of recruitment process flow, and then the course content. Next, this is the overview of the Oracle HCM Cloud. So basically, Oracle HCM, the Oracle Human Capital Management, covers the following five primary business process of managing the human capital. So the first one is the human resource. Sorry. So Oracle Human Resource enables organization to maximize the workers value by utilizing such features as the workforce deployment, workforce directory, workforce modeling, workforce prediction, and workforce reputation management. Your organization can align the resource and people with business objects. You can also enter and maintain information related to people, employment, and the work structures. It also shows a complete view of your organization and provide a place to connect with people. And you can also plan, model, and deliver optimize and large scale organization changes faster with greater certainty. You can also forecast your performance to more accurate prediction outcome and lead to better decision making. And you can also analyze social influence within your workforce. And the last one we have under human resource is the HR help desk. With HR help desk, the workers can create and submit service requests. Service request is basically an a technical support or some functional support for the employees. So this is a quick overview of the human resource umbrella of HCM Cloud. And next we have is the workforce rewards. So the area of workforce rewards leverage such features as the global payroll and localization, and the global payroll interface, benefits, and compensation. So these features will enable your organization to streamline payroll administration, to comply with local taxations and payroll rules locally and globally. It will also tailor your global benefit solution from simple to high complex plans. It will also help you to design and deliver customized compensation plans for global and local organizations. So this is all about the workforce rewards. So next we have is the workforce management. So the area of workforce management deals with features such as absence management and time and labor to enable your organizations to implement absence and leave policies globally or locally. And it will also help you to track, monitor, and increase accuracy of your time reporting. So when I say time reporting, it this module is all about your punch in and punch outs. And the next umbrella we have is the talent management. So in addition to utilizing the Oracle Talent Acquisition Cloud, onboarding, recruiting, and learn futures. The area of talent management is also comprised of such futures as career development, goal management, performance management, profile management, succession management, and talent review. So this futures enables your organization to recruit, screen, and hire applicants effectively and collaboratively. And you can also plan for your future with high impact employee development plans. And you can also rapidly develop content using flexible editing tools or by importing content, all while following the appropriate standards. You can also personalize your learning content to address multiple audience and establish curriculum for mentoring programs, uh, rotational assignments, or other training programs based on your company needs. And you can also capture your formal and informal feedback from multiple sources to provide a rich, well-rounded portrait of your employees. And you can also ensure your best talent is in line for future leadership and critical roles. And you can also optimize your talent review process to efficiently identify and manage your top talents. Is there a question?
Yes, sir. This is Bennett. So
Yes,
this
Bennett.
this session, yeah, this training would be what I understood so far. So this, training is going to be more of a from a talent management perspective, or you would be covering all aspects, like you have the screen shows like work life or workforce management, workforce rewards, and human resources as a whole.
Okay. So Bennett, like this session is in particular to the recruiting module of the talent management umbrella.
Right,
So the
right.
reason why we are looking at the overview of the HCM cloud is this recruitment, the Oracle Recruitment Cloud, which we call it as ORC. ORC will not work as a standalone. So in order for you to implement ORC to any customers, you need to have the human resource module, the core human resource module to be implemented. So that's why, like, we start with an overview of HCM Cloud because most of the participants here, I see, like, they're very new to Fusion. So I just wanted to give them an background of what Oracle HCM Cloud is all about, and then move into the ORC module in specific.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So as we see, like, under talent management, we have the first one as the Talio Enterprise Onboarding and Recruiting, and then the second module called as Recruiting. So let me just, yeah. So the first one is the Talio Enterprise Onboarding and Recruiting. So which I said a little earlier that Talio is a legacy product from Oracle, and Recruiting, which we call it as Oracle Recruitment Cloud or ORC, is the new version, new release from Oracle on from 2018 onwards. So we'll be looking in detail on the ORC part. And the last umbrella we have under Oracle HCM Cloud is the work life. So the work life area focus on futures such as my competition, my reputation, my volunteering, and my wellness. Together, this futures enables your organizations to manage fun competitions that help drive business goals. And you can also analyze your social influence within your workforce. You can also engage in company volunteering projects, and you can promote a healthier work-life balance. So this is a quick overview of the Oracle HCM Cloud. So if anyone has any doubts on this, we can look at it, or if not, we'll look at the overview of recruitment.
Harish, one question, Harish.
Yes, please.
You said ORC, which is Oracle Recruiting Cloud. Does it cover onboarding also?
See, recruiting, the ORC, which we are going to look at, is it will cover onboarding as well.
Okay, okay. Okay, yeah, thank you. And even the small part of the reporting, right? OTBA.
OTBI, which will be part of the course.
Okay, because I mean, when we work in Talio, we have recruiting, onboarding. You have OBI. So
Mhm.
all this is integrated, right, in ORC?
Yes, everything is integrated in ORC. In ORC, we have OBI and we also have OTBI.
OTBA. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mesh.
What
Harish,
are these terms, by the way?
Sorry, Habib.
What are these terms anyway? OTBI, OBI.
So, OBI is Oracle Business Intelligence, and OTBI is also a reporting tool from Oracle, which is like simple. You don't need to write any SQL queries to get a report. Whereas in OBI report, you need to write SQL queries to create a report. So we'll look at OTBI and OTBI reports during our course.
So, Harish, is there any technical aspect for this course? Like in Taleo, we had a technical part also. So, in ORC, is there any technical part, or it is just a functional?
See,
Uh,
ORC perspective, everything is functional. So you don't need to have a technical knowledge to, do an ORC implementation. Of course, there are certain places where you might need a little technical expertise, because when we come to a place called creating offer letters, so there like you need to create an RTF template. So which is like, a little technical expertise is needed, which we will, train you during your course content.
The TCC aspect, right, Harish?
Sorry, Mahesh?
The TCC aspect also you're covering in ORC?
We don't need TCC for ORC,
Okay,
because
okay.
ORC is an integrated module of Oracle HCM. So that's why I say ORC
Uh-huh.
will, in order to implement ORC, you need to have the core human resource, the global HR module to be
Okay, okay.
implemented. So global HR and recruiting ORC will work hand on hand.
Okay.
So any other doubts, questions?
Harish, this is Anil. What
Yes,
kind of
Anil.
what kind of scope we have learning only ORC, leaving apart HCM entirely?
Okay. See, Anil, in that aspect, like what I would say is ORC is a new module from Oracle, which Oracle has released it from 2018 onwards.
Mm.
And there are many companies where they have implemented Taleo and the Fusion Global HR. So most of the customers, they want to move out of Taleo and then re-implement ORC. So that is where we have it a big scope. And apart from that, any new implementation projects which we come up, you know uh, customers are preferring ORC rather than Taleo because of the additional advantages we have in ORC. Because ORC is an integrated module of HCM Cloud, which will reduce a lot of additional configurations, like the integrations and all those things. And
Oh,
since this is a new module, we have very limited resource in the market for ORC implementation.
oh,
If you take Fusion, yes, we have good hands-on people with good hands-on experience, good technical skills. But when it comes to ORC, we have very limited resource in the market, and we are even implementers like us, we are trying to find. We are having tough times in finding the resource in the market as well.
oh. Thanks, Harish.
You're welcome, Anil.
Yeah.
Inbound and outbound integration.
Sorry, Pradeep, I didn't get you.
Cover the integrations part, inbound and outbound integrations with any of downstream applications like emails.
I'm sorry, Anil. I'm not sure. Like I got your question exactly.
I was saying that do we cover the inbound and outbound integrations, Harish?
No, Anil. We'll not be covering detailed aspects on the inbound integrations, but we'll give you an scope, or we'll have an overview of the integrations, third-party integrations in the course content. So if there are no additional questions, I'll move on to the next slide. So next we are going to look at what exactly Oracle Recruiting Cloud is. So Oracle Recruiting Cloud is designed to integrate within a complete HCM suite, which I said. So which will improve your candidate quality and recruiting speed with a comprehensive recruiting solution. Through the use of collaborative tools like candidate filtering and leverage data from within HCM and end-to-end recruiting process function. And ORC provides a compelling candidate experience, I would say like a frictionless application process for both internal and external candidates. And it also gives an ability to enhance the candidate experience with videos and easy to navigate job features as well as notifications. It also includes a robust sourcing tool, recruitment marketing campaigns, social media campaigns, and referral features. And also the most important feature of ORC is it is an integrate within a HCM suite, and you can reuse the data from HCM such as employee compensation information as well as other HR activities that integrates with recruiting. And it also provides a mobile responsive interface, displays fluidity on any device. So the one advantage of ORC is it is an responsive design. So basically when I say responsive, it can be ORC can be used on any desktops or tablets or mobile phones. So if you see in this PPT, I have a screenshot of the ORC module from a laptop tab and the mobile interface. So everything works. I mean, the look and feel is same, in whichever interface you open the application from. And also, I'm sorry. So this is an overview of or ORC. So if you have any doubts, so we'll just look at the next slide. So what will be configured at the end of this course? At the end of the course, you will be configuring the three main building blocks of a recruitment system. So you will understand how to create requisitions which can be tailored to your organization's process and structures, a mobile ready career section ready to advertise posted jobs to external candidates and receive applications, and powerful recruitment management tool on backend to walk candidates through the hiring process along with marketing tools and offer communications. And next slide we have is the end user applications. So the three areas of application interactions for primary end users are the hiring work area. In this area, the hiring managers and the recruiters work on requisitions and manage candidates. And the second one we have is the external career site, is used for external candidates to search for the jobs. They can also share the jobs to the friends or colleagues, and they can also apply to the jobs. And the third one we have is the internal job opening page, which is accessed within the HCM module. And the fourth one we have is the email, is used to send correspondence to stakeholders including recruiters, candidates, hiring managers, and approvers. So all this are integrated within the ORC module. So any doubts?
Yeah, Harish.
Yes,
So,
please.
is the interview management in the flow of
uh,
your
it is part of the training course, yes.
okay? And about the career section, so uh, like Talia supports the social media, like various platforms. So, does ORC support it? And the third
Yes.
question is the third party integration.
Uh-huh.
Will ORC support that, like
Yes.
background checks and all those passport
Yeah.
vendors?
Okay, yes. So on the third question which you asked is on the third-party integrations. Yes, just like Talio, we ORC also integrates with third-party applications. We have third-party applications like Talimentary for resume parsing, and we have Equist, a partner called Equist for posting jobs to across the job portals. So we have Oracle as a place called Oracle Marketplace, where we can see all the vendors or all the third-party applicants which can be integrated with ORC. So we have a separate vendors for the background checks, like I-9 for US process. So similarly for country specific also there are a lot of third-party application applicants.
So
And yes,
even branding and all those things are taken care of.
yes, So we'll look at how to create external carrier sites, internal carrier sites, and we'll have because carrier site designing is a complete customization. Like we'll during the course content, what we'll see is like how to create an external carrier site and how to customize it, how to customize your carrier site for better graphics.
Harish, branding is still a consulting area, right? Because branding normally in Talio, if we require an additional support, we have to pay to the Oracle
Yeah.
consulting.
So, Mahesh, so when you say Talio branding, you're referring to the external carrier set, right?
Yeah, career side branding.
Okay. See, Mahesh, normally when we do an ORC implementation, it depends, in the scope or in the agreement, we define like, what kind of customizations we are going to help the customer in terms of the carrier side. So normally when we, I have done a couple of projects on ORC. So what we normally suggest, customers suggest to us is like to create just the external carrier sites. On the customizations, the customer they take care of their own customizations, because
Okay.
to have a better visibility, or to have a better graphics, we need more technical aspects, like we need an graphics designers and all. But we'll
Hmm.
look at the during the course content, we'll look at like how you can create an external career website, how you can add videos to your career sites, basic customizations which
Hmm.
doesn't involve a lot of technical aspects.
Okay.
Because the when we compare Talio career site and ORC career site, ORC career site is very user friendly. You can have lot of additional features in your career site without any technical aspects.
Hmm.
It's I would say like it's plug and play kind of concept.
Okay.
Any other questions? So so next we'll look at like six major reasons why people are moving from I'm
Hey,
sorry.
hey, just a quick question, if you don't mind.
Yes, Pavan.
Do the Oracle has their own resume extractor, or do they use a third-party tool?
For resume parsing, we need to use a third party tool, Pavan.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Pavan. So next we'll look at like six major reasons why people move from Talio to Oracle Recruiting Cloud. So ORC, as I said, like ORC provides a seamless integrated solution for both for your sourcing, recruiting, and onboarding and experience, and it also delivers distinct benefits and return when compared to the previous standalone Talio offering. So one major advantage between ORC and Talio is like Talio you can implement as a standalone module. Standard When I say standalone module, it means like customers they can implement Talio alone without Fusion. But when it comes to ORC, customers has to implement Fusion HCM along with ORC. So that's why like when we normally go with for ORC trainings, we suggest the trainers, we suggest the people to take up the ORC training along with the core HR. So that gives you a complete end-to-end process knowledge of the Fusion system. So the first major reason why people move from Talio to ORC is like on the better data quality and reduced integration. So with Talio, like if you want to move data from Talio to a Fusion application, you need to create an integration where like you have to send data from Talio, and then you have to create one more integration in Fusion to get the data. And if you want to create some requisitions in Talio, you have to pull the data from your Fusion, and you have to get it in Talio. So which will take some which involves more of the integrations from Talio and Fusion application. With ORC, you don't need to create any integrations, because ORC and your Fusion HCM application works hand on hand. There's an inbuilt integration between your ORC and core HR. So next we have is the next major advantage of ORC from Talio is like with ORC you have an integrated reporting module. So with ORC, organizations have the ability to create all your reports seamlessly. So you don't need to have one more integration for your reporting purpose and all those details. And the third advantage of ORC from your Talio system is ORC is an one HR platform where ORC can pull data from your global HR or from the talent management. So when I say talent management, ORC can pull data from your talent management modules like goals, performance, succession planning, and all those things. So it isn't one stop shop for all your HCM related things. And next advantage of ORC is the seamless onboarding experience. So with ORC leverage, we have an option in HCM called HCM checklist. So checklist basically offers the organization to create tasks and to assign the task to the respective stakeholders or even to the candidates who are going to join the organization. So we look at all those onboarding experience, the basically the HCM checklist during our course content. And also the next advantage of ORC is the adaptive intelligence and digital assistance. So in ORC, Oracle has introduced the adaptive intelligence into ORC. So I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. So with ORC, as I said, like Oracle has introduced the adaptive intelligence, which will help the hiring managers and the recruiters to to have a better visibility of the candidates in terms of the candidate search, the skill set search, and all those things. So we'll look in detail during our course content, on what are the advantages of the adaptive intelligence and digital assistance. And when I also on the digital assistance in ORC in career section, we have an option called digital assistance. So where if you go to multiple, if you go to some websites, in the bottom right side we will have a chat option. So when we click on the chat option, a chat agent comes up where we can put on our queries, and then the chat agent responds. So similarly, in ORC Career website, we have an option called Digital Assistant, where say, for example, I am a candidate. I have come into a career website, and I'm just searching for I just click on the Digital Assistant, and I'm just searching, is there opening for Java developer? So immediately, the system pulls out all the requisitions which has the Java keyword, and then it shows to the candidate that these are the requisitions where Java skill is required. So from there, the candidate can click on any of the job requisition, applies for the requisition, and proceed with the recruitment flow. And also apart from this, they also have a lot of additional questions where a candidate can type what are the company benefits, what are the leave benefits of the organization. So similarly, candidate can search for ask any kind of questions, and then the digital assistant will pull the data from the system, and then it passes to the candidate. So this is the advantage of ORC digital assistant. And next is on major advantage of ORC is the improved internal mobility. So when I say mobility, Oracle Recruitment Cloud promotes internal mobility, the internal people can see all the open requisitions where an internal employee can apply for. And also when the recruiter posts a job requisition, they can select whether this requisition is for internal or external. So when the reason why it has more advantage in ORC than Talio is in Talio, this recruitment process flow is it's very complicated to design, but in WASI it is it is very user friendly. So these are six major advantages of ORC from Talio. And apart from this, there are a lot more advantages in Talio than in ORC than Talio. So one major advantage is ORC supports multiple language. Like for example, Arabic version ORC supports Arabic version, whereas Talio doesn't support Arabic version. This is one major advantage why a lot of our customers in Middle East started implementing ORC. So this is so the next slide gives you a comparative measure between Talio recruiting and ORC. So as I said, like the chatbot, the digital assistant, which is not available in Talio recruiting and it is available in ORC. And we all ORC also integrates with the customers Office 365, which will help the customers in having a better interview management. So we look in detail about the interview management because interview management in ORC has a lot of new updates and developments in the recent release. So now with ORC integrated with Office 365, when we want to schedule an interview, the recruiters can pull the calendar of the interviewers, and they can send the interview slots to the candidates, and even the candidates, they can get multiple time slots, and they can also have the option to select which time slot they want to have the interview with. So we'll look in detail on the interview management during our course content. And you can also customize your job requisition with videos, images to engage your candidates. And this customization of job requisition to include your videos and images are very user friendly. Like it is basically a simple drag and drop feature. And one advantage of Talio when compared to ORC is like Talio can be implemented as a standalone, whereas ORC cannot be done. And one advantage in Talio compared to ORC is like in Talio, by default the eQuest integration is delivered, whereas in ORC you need to have an third party eQuest integration separately. So when I say eQuest, so eQuest is a third party vendor who will help in posting the job requisitions to all the job portals which the customer has license to. So these are quick comparative measures or comparisons between ORC and Talio. So if you have any doubts or questions, please feel free to ask.
So Harish, what is the level of customization in ORC as compared to Talayo?
So customization, what kind of customization you are referring to? Like, are you talking about adding DFF, the descriptive flex fields, or is there anything specific in Talio if you're looking at?
Yeah, the DFF as well as, is there any chance like we can add a additional form or any kind of thing here that is not in Talayo?
Sorry? Habib, yes, in ORC we can have a page customization. We can also have DFF, which is descriptive flex fields. People DFF is an option, is an an additional option we have in Fusion, which we so as a standard page, like as a standard, like the page will have like 10 options. Say like the customer say I need an 11th option in this page apart from this 10, so we add the 11th option in the page and we call that as an DFF. So yes, Abib, in ORC we can have a lot of DFF, and we can have the DFF seamlessly integrated to your reporting as well. And you can also create your requisition or your job or your offer approvals based on the DFF.
I think Habib left. Harish,
Yes, Mahesh.
one in Talio forms cannot be contextualized, whereas in ORC.
Yes, you can contextualize your DFF, Mahesh.
Okay, you call DFF as the forms.
Yes, so with DFF we'll add like the text fields or the list of values and all those options, right?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm back on the desktop. Actually, I went out of the cell phone.
No, is it? So did you got my point, Habib?
Harish, actually, it was me. I was asking.
I did
Oh,
not ask any question.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got little confused.
No problem. It was me actually.
Okay, great. So any other doubts or questions do we have on the comparative measures?
Uh, does ORC uh, requires less time for implementation than Talayo, or they are
Yes.
same?
See, I would say like from an overview perspective, yes, ORC implementation takes lesser time than Talio. The reason being is ORC implementation is user friendly, and ORC requires no integration to your HCM suite. So, which saves a lot of your man days on the implementations.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, Talio integration is a huge concept.
Yes, it's very, you need to have TCC and all those things to have your implementations.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Tafik. Tafik, I saw you raised your hand.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Tafik, I can hear you. Tafik, if you're having issues on your mic, you can put your question in the chat. We can respond back to you.
Hello.
Tafik, yes, Tafik, we can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me, right?
Yes, Tafik.
Yeah, I was just trying to ask that if a organization is already using Talio and they want to move to ORC,
Mhm.
so how do that process take place? Like they simply migrate to ORC from Talio, or anything else is there?
See, what Oracle recommends is like, we can migrate from Talio to ORC, and also we can have a fresh implementation. Because like anyways, you're pulling all the data to your Talio from Fusion application. So rather than having an integration, you can have a fresh implementation of ORC, which will actually save time.
Okay,
Any other question, Tafi?
okay,
Okay, great. So if there are no additional questions, then I will move on to the next slide. Okay, so next we are going to look at the recruitment process flow. So as an ORC implementation consultant, this recruitment process flow has to be, we need to have a clear understanding of the recruitment process flow. So that's when, as an implementation consultant, we can give a better solution to the candidate. So if you see, the recruitment process flow, it starts with like need identification. So need identification is basically identifying the requisition. uh, Mahesh, is there a question? Habib, guys, can you able to hear me?
Probably a personal question, Harish. I can ask later also.
Yes.
Sure.
But I'm just pinging it to you separately.
Okay, understood, got it.
Yeah.
Habib, can you hear me? Can you hear now?
Yeah, I can hear. No problem.
Okay, fine, great. So when I say need identification, it's basically identifying the requisition or identifying the demand within the organization. And once we identify the demand, what the next step would be sourcing for the candidates. And once we source the candidates for the demand, we start screening the candidates. And once during the screening process, you will have your interview as one major step, and you will have your interviews, initial interview, final interview. And once the interview is completed, you get your feedback from the interviewers, and based on the feedback you shortlist the candidates. And once you shortlist the candidates, you start doing the verification, like the verification of the education details or employment or whatsoever could be. And once you verify all the details, you extend the offer to the candidate. And once candidate accepts the offer, and you start your onboarding process. So this is the overview of the recruitment process flow. And in this recruitment process flow, this process flow could have minor changes based on your customer needs. Like some customers, they have the verification after they roll out the offer. So those all can be customizable. So the reason why we are looking at the recruitment process flow is like each step in this recruitment process flow has to be configured as in the system. So like when you say need identification, basically you have to create your requisition. So in order to create your requisitions, you need to configure the job application flow. And once you configure the job application flow, you can start creating your requisition. And sourcing, so basically sourcing is posting your job application to your external career site. So in order to do that, you have to configure your external career site, and you have to create your candidate selection process called which we call it as CSP. So candidate selection process is basically like, what are the steps to be there, like, so all the steps will be under the candidate selection process flow. uh, yes, Tafik, I saw you have raised your hand.
Yeah, quick question. Does the background check falls under verification?
Yes, Rafiq. So that's why I said, like, some customers, they have the verification post the offer. Some customers do an verification before they roll out the offer. So this process, this candidate selection process can be customizable. The steps can be, move forward or move backward based on the customer needs.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So in order for coming back to my topic, like the sourcing, so in order to start sourcing, you need to post the requisition to the external carrier site. So we have, for that we need to configure the external carrier site. And once the candidate applies for the requisition from the external carrier site, so there we have to define, like, the candidate job application flow. So and then we have to configure, the interviews. So when I say configuration of interviews, that's where the interview management system comes in. So once we integrate with Office 365 of the customer's application, we can find the, the calendar availability of the interviews, and we can send the complete availability to the candidates, and then the candidates can choose the convenient time and then respond back. So all those things can be configured using the interview management system. And on the feedback part, so we can configure, like, the interviews, how the interviews needs to send the feedback to the recruiters and the hiring managers, or the interviewers has to send the feedback only to the recruiters or only to the hiring managers. Those all can be configured in the ORC. And next we have is the verification. So verification, whether the verification has to be manual verification or it has to be integrated to third party vendors. Say for example, in US, in United States, like, we have a separate background verification process called I-9. So that can be done only by the third party vendors. So ORC as certain third party vendors specialized for I-9 verifications. So those kind of configurations can be configured. And when we come to offer, so there is where we configure the offer letters. So, like, how the offer letter should be, how the offer letter should look like, what all details has to come into offer letter. And those details has to be fetched from the system. All those details will be, configuring in the offer letters. And then the final part is the onboarding. So onboarding is where, we configure, like, the checklist and the onboarding process. Like, once a candidate joins the organization, what all the process has to be done. Like for example, we have an welcome email, so we can configure that as part of the checklist. So we'll look in detail on the onboarding part. Onboarding is a, is a huge topic in WARC. So all this process will be configured in WARC as in different steps.
Harish, one question about onboarding.
Yes, Mesh.
Normally in Talio onboarding, people, the candidates or new hires will upload the documents. They have an option to upload the documents.
Yes, in WARC.
So there
Sorry.
is a restriction in the attachments also, the size.
Okay.
So what about in ORC?
Yes. So in Talio, my understand in Talio, like, we have a restriction of 10 MB or
Yeah.
five files with 10 MB in total.
Yeah, 10 MB, but you can increase it to 15 MB based on a request to Oracle. But you have
Yes,
to, yeah.
that would be an additional cost for that.
Yeah.
So in ORC, you don't have any restrictions on the file size or the number of files. So you can configure n number of files, and the file size. Yes, we have a small limitation of 1 GB per file.
Okay.
I think 1 GB should be more than enough, Mahesh.
More than very, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And in ORC, like, so basically what Oracle Fusion does is like, they have a quarterly patch update. So when I say quarterly patch update, like we have the versions of Oracle Fusion as like, 20A, 20B, 20C, 20D. So every year Oracle rolls out 4 quarterly updates on Fusion for all the modules. With ORC, the last 4 patch from basically from 19C, 19D, 20A, and 20B, there are a lot of new additional features because ORC is a new product from Oracle, which is like hardly 2 years old, in the system. So there are major updates coming on the ORC. So previously in ORC onboarding, we don't have an option where candidates can upload their attachments. But with 20A release, we have the option where we can enable the option where candidates as an onboarding process, they can log into our Fusion application, they can upload all those documents, and those documents will be under the candidate record once the candidate becomes an employee. So we'll see all those options in detail during the training course.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So, Harish, are you going to consider the aspect of the third-party integration also? So, will you be showing the passport vendor integration part also in this
See,
course?
a certain integration with the vendors requires licensing. So not certain, like almost all, most of the vendors integration requires licensing. So because of due to that restriction, I can show you in the system like how to configure with the third party applications, or in order to configure with the third party applications, what all the details you require. Like for example, in order to integrate with Telemetry, there's a vendor called Telemetry who helps in resume parsing. So in order to integrate with them, we need to have the license key and the client ID from the vendor. So once we have those details, we can have an integration. But what we can see is like, how to integrate with the third party vendors. And in order to have a successful integration, what all the details you need.
Yeah, yeah, that is what I actually require. Like, what are the steps or what are the processes that will
Yes,
be
that
doing?
will do. And also I will, during the training course, we'll look in detail on the Oracle marketplace to have a better understanding of like, what kind of vendors we have.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Sorry,
Welcome.
would this also include integrating with third party for the background checks as well?
Yes, we have the options. We look at like, as I said, like I'll show you like, what all the vendors we have for the third party verifications, background verifications, and we'll discuss in detail on how to integrate with them. But we'll not be doing the actual integration because in order to do the actual integration, we need the license. So was it clear?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Fine. So any other questions on the ORC or on the recruitment process flow or anything?
So, Harish, if there is a user-defined field or any drop-down or whatever it is, so to populate it, we will be using the standard uh, loaders and all those things only, right? For
I'm sorry, I didn't get exactly. So you're referring to UDT, user defined tables?
not exactly. Like say there is one user-defined field, like it is a drop-down. Okay,
Okay.
we
Uh-huh.
create it. So to populate it, we will be using our regular Fusion loaders, HCM loaders only, right? Like
See,
if it is.
okay, for example, like, in the job application, in the requisition page, we need to add a new field called type of recruitment process. And it has to show a list of values, say like 4 list of values. So
Mhm.
in ORC, what we do is like we create them as an DFF, descriptive flex field. And then we tell the system like, in which page this has to be displayed.
Okay.
And then once we deploy the flex wheels, and the system will automatically pull those data, and then it would be displayed in that specific page.
And if it is a very long list, then how
you
will?
can you can import your list using import process, and then you can
Okay.
display it.
Okay. Okay.
So we had a case where we need to show a list of values which has like almost 1400 values. So we have loaded the values and then we displayed it in one of our implementation.
Mhm. Yeah, got it. Thanks.
So any other questions on ORC? Okay, so next we'll look at the course content. So these are the topics which we are going to be looking during our training course period. So first we'll look in detail on the introduction to recruiting, and we'll see like how the end user experience would be look like. And the next point is on configuring the recruiting users and the security. So this is where we create the roles which we required for the ORC purpose. For ORC, we have three major roles. One is recruiter, hiring manager, and then the recruiting administrator. So these are the three major roles we have for ORC. So we'll look in detail on what are the privileges we have on the roles and how to restrict the data. Say like we'll have a scenario during our implementation where like the hiring manager has to see only his requisitions, and we'll also have a scenario where the hiring manager has to see all the requisitions in his region. So how to configure those kind of data securities. And similarly for recruiters, some customers, they ask the recruiters, they should have the visibility of only the requisitions where they are the recruiter. And some customers says like the recruiter should have visibility of all the requisitions in the region or specific to business unit. So we'll have those kind of requirements from the customers. So we'll look in detail on the on the how the users and the data securities can be configured in ORC. And next we have the recruiting and candidate experience management. So can when I say candidate experience management, is where we define, we configure the career site, and how the candidate has to apply. So when a candidate applies, like what all the informations has to be collected from the candidate, and what are the steps, like in which step what information has to be collected. All those details will be configured in the candidate experience management. And next we have is the candidate pre-screening, configuring pre-screening questions. So pre-screening questions is like say I can create some questions. I'll say like, do you have a valid visa to work in United States? And I will have an option called yes or no. I can define an option as yes or no. So, and I can also define that if if the candidate choose no, they should disqualify automatically. So that is what we call it as pre-screening questions. And we can also have a basic questions to be asked from the candidate, like are you or is your age 18 plus or not? So those kind of pre-screening questions can be attached to the requisition. So we'll look in detail on how to configure the pre-screening questions. And next we have is the job requisition management. So under job requisition management, we will discuss in in detail how to configure the job requisitions, like what all the fields has to be there when a recruiter or an hiring manager creates the requisition. And we can also define like the requisition has to be created only by the recruiter and not by the hiring manager, or only by the hiring manager and not by the recruiter. Those kind of customer requirements we normally face. So we look in detail on how to configuring the job requisitions. And next most important point is on the notifications and alerts. In ORC we have a lot of notifications and custom alerts. Say like when what kind of notification or alert has to be sent to the candidate when the resume is shortlisted or when they are scheduled an interview. So we'll look in detail on how to configuring all those options. So
Harish, do you also have option to set the reminders? Like on onboarding, you have in Talio.
uh-huh.
Do you have an option to do a reminder in ORC to a
Yes.
candidate?
Yes, so we also have a reminder even in onboarding or as well as during your interview management also. So even in onboarding, we have an option to send a reminder to the candidate. Say like I can configure that one reminder has to be sent every 2 days till the end date, or
Yeah, but
till.
even in recruiting, you can do it in ORC.
Yes. Even for ORC onboarding checklist, we can define the reminders.
Oh, okay. Because in Talio recruiting, you don't have a reminder to a candidate unless you do it via TCC or integration.
Okay, so in ORC we can configure it at the checklist level, or even
Okay,
for the interviews we have an option to send reminders to the candidates.
okay, okay.
So which doesn't involve any integrations, where you just need to configure the message alone what has to be sent.
All right.
Right. So next we will look in detail on the candidate selection process. So candidate selection process. So we saw the recruitment process flow, right? So first is the screening of the candidate, and then we'll have the interviews, and then first level interview, second level interview, and then pre-offer in verification, offer, post-offer verification. So this is called as the candidate selection process. So which is the major, which I would say this candidate selection process is the backbone of the ORC. So we'll look in detail on how to select, how to configure the candidate selection process. And next we'll have the job application flows. So when a candidate applies for the jobs, like what should be the application flow and all those details. So next we look at job application. I'm sorry, I think it got repeated. So next we look at the career sites on how to configure the career sites for candidate experience, and we look at on the job offers. Like when I say configuring job offers, we can configure the offer letters in the system. So in the initial discussion, I said like. We can configure the job offers using an RTF template, which doesn't need a lot of technical. It's just like a simple Word file where you can pull details from the system, and then you can define your offer letter, and you can say like say for example in the offer letter we can define dear, and then the next word should be the candidate full name, or the candidate first name, or the candidate last name comma first name. So we can define those variables. So in ORC language, we call them as tokens. And the next part is on the configuring the interview scheduling and its futures. So as I said, like interview scheduling management in ORC has a lot of new updates in the last two release. So one major update is integrating with the Office 365. So we look in detail on how to configure the interview scheduling, the interview feedback forms. So we have huge topics to look at on the interview scheduling and its futures. Next major advantage in ORC is on the recruiting campaigns. So normally in Talio, we don't have an option for recruiting campaigns. In ORC, we have an inbuilt option. So we look in detail on how to configure the various recruiting campaigns. Like we can create and recruiting campaigns for internal employees or only for the external employees and all those details. And next we'll configure how on the agency hiring. So in ORC, we have something called agency hiring, where we can create an agency and we can add the recruiters from the agency. So what happens is we have a separate career site for uh, agent agency hire recruiters, so where they can see all the requisitions which is posted for recruiting agency, and they can apply their candidates from the website, and we have a lot of futures for that, which the recruiters would definitely like it. One major advantage in agency hiring is like you can define the ownership of the candidate. Say like we have four different agencies, so agency one has applied a candidate one. So we can define like agency one should have the ownership of the candidate for 6 months. So these are some of the requirements we normally get from the customers. And then next we have is the schedule process. So we'll look in detail about the schedule process in the training, but let me give you a quick idea. So in ORC, for certain objects to flow frequently, we have an option called schedule process. So where we have to schedule certain jobs, like getting the candidates who has applied from the career site and putting them in the requisitions display and all. These are some of the schedule process which we have in ORC. So we look in detail on all the schedule process which is there in ORC, and we have to schedule this process on a various frequency. So those frequency will change from customer to customer. Some customer says that if they have huge hiring volume, they say like this schedule process has to be scheduled for every 5 minutes. Whereas some customers they don't have that huge hiring volume, so they schedule this process once in every 3 hours or 4 hours. So we'll look in detail on the schedule process. And next, last point we have is on the final end user experience. So this is where we'll look in detail about the third party integrations and all those details. So this is an overview of the course content which we'll be looking on the ORC aspect. So if anyone has any doubts or questions, please feel free to ask me.
Harish, the recruiting campaign is nothing but the bulk hiring, right?
See, bulk hiring, not exactly. So recruiting campaign is like, say for example, we have a huge opening for Java developers. So where like you can create a campaign for it, and then you can post that campaign, to your third-party websites, social media sites, to your internal employees. So it's basically in campaigns. So where like you can define like how frequently you need to repost these jobs. So all those things can be defined in the campaigns.
Okay. So anything for bulk hiring, ORC has many
See,
options.
for bulk hiring in the sense, I didn't get you exactly.
So, like there is one requirement, common requirement, like whenever there is any scheduled campus interviews in
Uh-huh.
colleges. So, yeah, there are means lot of candidate have to be created in bulk. Like creating each candidate manually. It is a very tedious task during this campus interviews.
Uh-huh.
So for bulk hiring, is there any option?
See, for one of our customer where I implemented ORC in Middle East, so they have an once in a year they go back, they go to like different countries to hire people for their company. So they hire people's like 500, 600 people in bulk. So in those scenarios, what we have suggested them is like you can load those candidates via an option called HDL. HCM data loader. So
Mhm.
we have an option, so we can load all those employees into the system with an Excel file.
Okay, okay, fine.
So we'll look in detail during our course content on how to load, because anyways that is already always that is also a part of the training course.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So if you have any other questions on ORC, any doubts, please feel free to ask me.
Harish, is there any assistance for certification? I think the recent is 2020, right?
Yes,
20,
we have 2020 in the certification.
yeah.
So
There'll be an assistance, right, for that?
Uh, Ravi, Ravi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear. Yeah, we'll give the assistance and certification also. We have the own paramedic centers in Hyderabad. You can contact me offline. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry, thanks.
Ravi, about the course schedule, how?
We'll schedule it. You'll receive the WhatsApp message or something through mail. We'll schedule the course. You'll receive that. Okay.
So how soon are you like planning to start this?
We'll release that. Maybe next week we can release the schedule.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So, any other questions or doubts, guys?
Harish, this is Anil.
Yes, Anil.
Yeah, at the end of the course, we'll be knowing how to implement end-to-end, do end-to-end implementation, upgradation, sort of thing. Or do you have any? You will give us any exposure to hands-on in these areas?
So, what we at the end of this course, Anil, so you'll have a complete hands-on experience on how to implement ORC from end to end. So
Okay.
we'll have during our course we'll have practice sessions, so where everyone will have a specific configuration, and you'll also be given the access to our systems where you can practice on how to configure the topics which we are discuss on a daily basis, and you'll also be getting the training videos as well.
Okay.
So Harish, you will be taking the sessions, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I hope you're fine with my
Absolutely.
communication.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So if there are no doubts, then what I'll do is like I will quickly log in into the application, and then I'll show you how the look and feel of the application would look like. So before that, one final thing, any other doubts or questions? So this is how the Fusion login application would look like, where we have to enter our username and password, and once we enter the username and password, we'll be landing in the home page. Just bear with us for a minute, guys. From today morning, the instance is like little slow, and it is acting little weird. So it will take some time to load. So this is the home page, or this is we can call it as the welcome page. So here we can we can configure a simple report, and then we can display it here, or the employees can click on the home button to go to the home page. So this is how the home page will look like. So uh, the home page will be looking same for the recruiters, the hiring managers, and for the employees. If an hiring manager wants to see all the open requisitions which he has created, in order to see that, he has to click on my team, and under my team you will see an option called hiring. So hiring is the ORC module, so he has to click on hiring tab. So this is how the ORC module will look like in the system. So here you can see all the requisitions which is an collaborator or is the hiring manager for. So let me just clear the filter so that we can see. So this is how the requisitions will look like in the application. So this is the name of the requisition, and the number within the brackets is the requisition number. So we can also configure how the requisition number should look like, whether it should be numeric or alphanumeric, or it should be automatic. The number should be automatically generated.
Harish, one question. Sorry to interrupt.
No issues, please.
When you're exporting this number in Excel, we are getting an exponential format in Talio. How does that is sorted in ORC?
Exponential format in the sense?
For example, if I have a number with 1950 and E5, I'm just giving an example.
Okay.
So when I try to export the same in Excel, I'm getting the exponential as 19E plus, something like that.
See,
And
that
when I checked
is
with Oracle support, they said from our side, when you're exporting the data to Excel is not our problem. So is that sorted in ORC?
so Mahesh, just to confirm, that that is actually not an issue. So what happens in Excel, if there are
Hmm.
like a huge number and
Hmm.
number format, and if the cell size is small, it will just shrink, and then it will gives the value. So what you have to do is, in that case, you have to expand the cell, right click it, and go to the format cell. There you can change the number of values to display.
Yeah, probably I can talk that in detail later in sessions. But yeah, I tried it. It didn't work. I have used
Okay.
something as some quotation, and you have to paste a quotation before that, then it works.
Oh,
But
is it okay?
anyways, we can
But
discuss
in
it detail later. Yeah.
Sure, but in ORC, Mahesh, like so far, we have not seen any such issues. So the max I've seen is like on alphanumeric, where the requisition numbers are manually created. There,
Uh,
like we have like up to 8 characters, so it was
okay.
showing properly. So we didn't have an issue.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah.
during the session, what we can do is, like for the test case scenario, we can create a requisition with a huge number, and then
Mm-hmm.
we can export it
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Excel and then see how it works.
Yeah. Probably I'll give you the number type quotation, something like that. Not
Sure,
notation.
we'll definitely discuss
Yeah.
in
Thank
detail
you.
during the training.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Huh? So coming back to the requisition, so this is how the job requisitions will look like. So the first line would have the name of the requisition, and the second line will show us whether the job requisition is open or not, and this poster says that this job requisition has been posted to a career site. And the next we have is the job requisition type. We can configure like the various requisition type, where it can be standard, or pipeline, or campus hiring. We can define all those details. And the third one is the country for which this requisition is for. And this page is also this page can be customizable. And in the right side, we have two options called as applications and prospects. So what is the difference between application and prospect? So in ORC, when you create a candidate for this specific requisition, the candidate would be stored as a prospect. And once you create a candidate, the candidate gets an email from the system stating that so and so person has created your profile for so and so requisition. If you it will ask, system will ask the candidate whether you want to apply for that position. If the candidate clicks on the links, and then if he applies for the positions with more information, this candidate will be moved from prospect to application. So we'll, during our training course, we will be defining like how the message content should look like. We'll look at the configuration aspect during the training. And I'll just go back to the home page. So if an recruiter wants to see all the job requisitions, he has to click on my client group, and under my client group you will have hiring. So he has to click on hiring. So this is from the recruiter view. So here you will see list of all the requisitions which is the recruiter or as a collaborator. So let me just remove the filters. So here we can at the roles and data security, we can define like what kind of requisition should be visible to the recruiter or to the hiring manager. And in the left side, we have the various tabs. The first one is the job requisition. So here we can see all the requisitions which is posted, and you have an filters option, and you can also sort your requisition based on the application count or prospect count creation. We have various filters. And next is we have is the candidate search. So this is where we can search for the candidates. Just if people has experience in Talio we have an two types of search. One is basic and advanced search. So just like that, we have here, we have keyword search, where you can put your boolean expression, and once you enter your boolean expressions, you can this total candidate search will numbers will reduce accordingly. And you can add this candidate details, locations, education, experience, company. And next is on the campaigns, which we saw in the presentation. So this is where we'll be creating the campaigns and all those details. And we have an option in ORC called as candidate pool. So we can create some candidate pools, and when the people when the candidates applies for the requisitions from the career website, we can define, like, this candidate, if these are the criterias of this candidate, he has to come to this candidate pool, and all those details can be configured here. And the last tab we have is the offers. So this tab will show all the candidates for whom the offer has been initiated, extended, accepted. All the offer candidates can be seen in this tab. So this is how the candidate, the recruiter will look at the requisitions. So any doubt on this? So next, what I'll do is, like, I'll just show you how the career website would look like. I've just created a sample career website. So this is how the career website would look like. You can very well add your logos, and you can add your video files, everything here. And when you click on view all jobs, you can see all the jobs which has been posted on this career site. So these are the jobs which has been posted in the system, and the employee, the candidate has an option to search for the jobs based on the title, skills, keywords, or he can also choose location. And we can also create multiple career websites for multiple with different criteria, like, say, like, I am creating a requisition for campus hiring, so I can create a different career website for campus hiring alone, and for full-time hiring separate career website. So that all can be configured in ORC.
Harish, sorry to interrupt.
No issues in it.
Yeah, just want to know whether the candidate search that can be integrated to other third-party, job portals.
Candidate search third-party job portals, in the sense, I didn't get you, Anil.
Like Naukri, Monster, we can integrate that into this, or only our internal database?
Only on the internal database. So for that, like, we with LinkedIn, we have a LinkedIn recruiter system, right? So that can be integrated with ORC.
Okay.
And other integrations are there in the roadmap, which can be, we can see those options in the future release. But for now, we have an integration with LinkedIn recruiter system. So what happens is, like, whenever you create any projects in LinkedIn recruiter and add any candidates into that, those candidates would be automatically moved to this requisition. And if you send any emails from your LinkedIn to that specific candidate, those will be captured in the ORC as an interactions. So we
What
look
about
in.
what about the ATS?
That's what the LinkedIn recruiter system I'm talking about.
Okay. Okay.
So where you can create projects and you can add people into the projects, and then you can send emails from the projects, right? So all those can be integrated with your ORC. So any transactions which you make in your LinkedIn recruiter system, that can be integrated to your ORC. But that, like, what we'll do is, like, during the training process, we'll see how to configure that. And then we'll see some snapshots of how the system would look like on the LinkedIn recruiter system. The reason being is, like, in order to have this integration, we need a LinkedIn recruiter license.
Okay.
So wherever there is an integration which is possible without license, we'll definitely look into it. Wherever there's a license required, we have to we'll see the overview of it.
Okay, Harish. Thank you.
So any other doubts or questions?
So Harish, there are some requirements like the requisitions. There could be one source of requisitions that could be coming from another system, or there could be candidates that could be coming into from another system. So will ORC help us to get those kind of data, like requisition data, candidate data into ORC?
I'm sorry, if you can reiterate the question, please.
Yeah, Harish, like in few few implementations.
Uh-huh.
Apart from like Talayo or ORC, there are other systems where either the requisitions are being created or the candidates are being created. Okay.
Okay.
So to get them into ORC, like in Talayo, we used to use TCC, and we could get the requisition and candidate data into Talayo. So with respect to ORC, is it possible that way?
I don't think so. Because I just need to check, because like we can bring we can bring the data from another application to Fusion HCM using an out of the box integration. But specific to ORC, I have not, because like I have not heard of that scenario before. Let me just check and then I'll get back. But my understanding is like we don't have an option in ORC, but we have an option in Fusion HCM to to bring the data from another application to here.
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to I wanted a very rough answer. Like yeah, from Fusion Loader, like the you know the tables are available where we can import requisitions or candidate. Then that will be really helpful. That way.
Okay. See, one possible way we can definitely do is using the HCM data loader.
Mhm.
HDL, with HDL you can always load the candidate files requisitions into ORC or into Fusion, but as an integration I'm not sure. But with Fusion HCM system, yes, global HR you can have an out of the box integration to bring in data.
Okay. So please can you check it? Like I think so because in most of the implementations we have this kind of requirements from the client.
I completely understand, but as per my understanding, when we have ORC, where ORC is the applicant tracking system. So this is ORC is the reason why customers buy this module is for creating the requisitions, managing the candidates applications, the candidate status, and all those things. So when they have an tracking system called ORC, but why do they need to go with the another vendor? I mean another product.
Uh, Actually, if you like, just to let you know, like, if there is an implementation uh, across, across countries, so there are few locations where this ATS is not used. So
Uh-huh.
either there could be an agent, or there could be the company sponsored recruiters where they actually don't use Teleo or ORC, but they have their own kind of small applications, or it could be in form of files. So
Understood.
to get this data into ORC, that is really required.
Okay. See, in that scenario, one definite way of doing it is through HDL. So with the help of HDL, you can load the candidates requisitions into ORC. Or if you want to say we have seen in one of our customer where they have presence in 35 different countries. So out of 35 countries, we have implemented ORC only for 10 countries. For rest of the countries, like they have their own applicant tracking system. So what we did is like we have created an integration with the Fusion HCM system. So the moment they hire a candidate from their local system, with the help of integration, the candidate will be moved as an employee into the Fusion application, not via ORC.
Okay.
So that of
So
the
so
yes.
you mean to say with our standard SDLs like data loaders,
Uh-huh.
we can load requisitions and candidate into
Yes,
ORC.
yes.
Okay.
You can also load the candidates along with their status also, like for example they are on interview stage and interview is in progress. You can load with those details.
Okay, great. Okay.
So during a training course, like we'll look in details on the various HDL files. In Fusion application we have a place called data exchange, and in that like we have an option called business objects. So there like you can see what all the different HDL files we have, and how to load the data. We'll look into that during our training.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Tafiq, I yes, Tafiq.
Actually, I had a question, but I guess you have answered it. I just wanted to ask that does ORC integrate with other ATS? But I hope that you have answered that.
Yes. Yeah, with standard integration from Oracle is we can integrate with LinkedIn Recruiter system, and other integrations like the Naukri and all the Naukri, Dice, Monster, and all those things. It is there in the future roadmap.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, team?
Not for me.
Ravi?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Harish. We close this today demo section. We publish the schedule. Okay.
Sure. So thank you all for joining the session. Hope to see you all soon in the training sessions. Thank you all.
Thank you, Harish.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Harish.
Harish.
Thank you, Ravi.
Yeah, thank you all.
You explained the product very wonderful, Harish. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Mahesh, if you can just stay back.
Yes, 1 minute. I think I'm there. I'm there.
Okay.
Harish.